All right, welcome and welcome back to the Entrepreneur to Entrepreneur Shift the Culture podcast. We are here for another show. The scenery is a bit different, as you can see. Well, for those that are on Facebook Live, you can see. For those that are on SoundCloud, you may not get to see this, but for those on Facebook, you see the scenery is a bit different. Usually we're in the front room on the black futon with the black background, but today I decided to transition into the kitchen. A little change of scenery. I have a little table in here. I don't have to hold the mic in my hand. So just for the day, we switch it up just a little bit. Jay Isaacs isn't in. What'd you say?
Trying to be proper.
No, man, not proper, but it's just, just a little switch. Because, sometimes, in the front room, it's so hard to manage trying to work the computer, hold the mic, work the mixing board. So I just have a simple setup today. Since it's only me in person, I don't have my mixing board. I just have my mic and everything plugged directly into the computer. So it's a lot less stuff to worry about today.
Plus so the window light on you look so white.
I look white? I in Miami. Florida. Let me get it right. Sorry, break people. Let's go Miami. But no, that's actually the regular light. That's the daylight.
Nice.
Not the daylight. Yeah, that's the regular light. You know what I mean? It's a different area, So I guess the light set up different somehow. I don't know what's going on, but it does look a bit better. I like how it looks. But welcome, Jay Isaacs. Welcome back. You're not in person, but you are here. And it's always good to have you. And just before you joined, I explained to the people that are watching on Facebook Live what we're going to be talking about today. Is just taking control of your life. You know what I mean? Take control of your circumstances. Because especially here in the Bahamas, when you talk to people, a lot of people feel as though their lives are in the control of somebody else, whether that be the government, whether that be their boss. Just someone else is always pulling the strings in their life and determining what exactly it is they can do, how much they can make, how far they can go. You hear it all the time. And so I just wanted to discuss that and explore that and how you can begin to take control of your life. And as Alana says here, and let's say props to Alana, she was the first viewer, and she started commenting right away. And she said, trust me, I will never depend on my mother to do something for me. I will handle it myself. I established my own business and will continue to do what I have to do. And that's the attitude that I think everyone should have, but unfortunately everyone won't have.
Under 20.
Say again?
He's under 20 and she has that mindset.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. I would have never guessed. And she followed up by saying, I will depend on my mother only when I am feeling ill or when she is ill, I will do something for her. And wait, breaking news, Jay. Breaking news. Look here in the lobby, I see Mr. Travis Miller has joined. Let me see if I can now add him to the show. Let's see if this is going. Mr. Miller, are you there? Hello. He must have clicked the link by mistake, Oh, there he is.
Whoa.
Hey, Mr. Miller.
Wait, hold on a second. What? Okay, yeah. What's up?
What's happening? Wasn't expecting to see you today. It's a pleasure.
This is weird, man. This is very, very weird.
Why is it weird?
Technology, yo.
Isn't it cool?
Yeah, it's very cool. Very dope.
Awesome. All right, so unexpected guest, surprise guest. Yeah. We are joined by Travis Miller, founder of Shift the Culture. Travis Miller, where?
Look healthy. Look healthy.
you see Jay clean up.
You look healthy.
Yeah, I had to stop scrubbing for the month of January is over. The struggle is done.
Yeah, Jay clean up. Last week he was looking rough and scruffy like me, but now he go and clean up and get a schoolboy haircut. I know if Shah make him clean up or what, but he cleaned today.
She wants me to keep the hair on. I was like, hell no.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right, interesting. All right, so Travis, I don't know if you heard, but we're going to be discussing this, taking control of your life today. A lot of people in this town, so dependent on others, dependent on the government, always need somebody to do something for them. So we're just going to be discussing how you can begin to take control of your life and start leading a life of independence and, just being in control of your circumstances and your future. Jay, your thoughts?
Well, here's the thing. I totally agree that a lot of Bahamians, they are dependent on one thing or another. They have this need to, I think it's a need to always have a scapegoat in case they fail so they could blame somebody. Oh, well, my mother didn't support me. My family didn't support me. I didn't get this grant from the government, or the government pulled out of this, or whatever the case. It's everybody else's fault but their own. I learned at a very young age not to be dependent on the safety net, which doesn't really exist, because you take risks and you will lose in any game, whether you're in a government job, whether you work in the private sector in the hotel, or whether you work for yourself. So my whole thing was I learned early on to bet on myself. And I wish a lot of people would take the same. And betting on yourself doesn't only mean working for yourself. I mean, betting on the skills that you attain and taking a risk to go after what it is that you want. If you want a raise, stop hoping and praying for it. And actually, sometimes you might have to go and take it, or go in and set your value outside of your current work environment, so that the people that you work for actually say, hey, well, we don't want to lose this person in their productivity and their efficiency. Let's give this person a raise or another position or more responsibility to keep them in-house. So it is taking steps because you are the master of your universe. You are your God. Oprah said it a long time ago, and a lot of people chastised her. I thought she was being sacrilegious or being heathenistic or whatever, but you are the master of your universe. You make the decision. Nothing is predestined. We all go, just like time, everything goes with the flow. What do you think, Travis? I see you nodding your head.
No, it's I was just thinking about
Hold on one
thing.
second. One second. Hold on. 1 second.
Greg gonna leave us?
Yeah, babe. He gone. I don't know. We still live? Let me go outside.
Hold on. We take over the show?
No, come on now. He coming back. He ain't gonna let us go like that right now. Yeah, babe.
It's just us.
He's gone. I don't know. We still live? Let me go outside.
Yeah, we still live. We take over the show?
No, come on now. He coming back. He ain't gonna let us go like that right
Yeah, but what do you think? While we still wait on Greg to come back.
Yeah, babe.
It's just
gone. I don't know. We still live.
Yeah, we still live. We take over the show?
No, come on now. He let us go like that right now.
Yeah, but what do you think? While Greg come back. It's just
gone. I don't know.
Go on, Travis. Sorry, I had checked Facebook. Now you outside? How did you get outside?
I walked outside. So yeah, I mean, taking control. It isn't. It's like easy, in the sense that you always like the steps that you could do and like what you need to do and take control of your life. But like it's difficult at the same time. It's like because you could, even the people who you think have it together, right? They still gotta they still struggle with taking control of your life. Like there's still things that I feel like I could do better, or I feel like I'll be slunking on.
Definitely.
I don't think that ever ends. I just think you have to kind of take control of what you value and what you really put in that energy in. So in the sense of taking control, I mean, like there's a basic level of things. Like if you're unhappy with something that's going on with your life or not going on in your life right now, it's kind of like, okay, you don't have to wait on a particular person for you to change it, right? It's basic things. Like one thing I always like to do is start. If I get stuck on something, I try to start on paper and try to stub out the steps of what are the A, B, C, D, E things I need to do, or what it looks like for me to do. It still might be difficult, or it still might be things that may be barriers, but at least now you start to visualize the steps and the sub steps that you need to take. And what that does, even though that doesn't, you still have to execute on the problem. For me, at least, it takes off that anxiety when I could kind of see the direction I need to go, if that makes sense. So like when you get stuck in your head, it's like you have to compete with all these different thoughts at the same time, but if I put it on paper, or if I put it on the computer or something like that, I can start to put it in the order that I need to do it. So I start to feel like a little bit more calm. That's kind of how I take control. Taking control to me is dumping it out and then reordering it, if that makes sense.
No, it does make sense, because when you write stuff down, or you're looking at the problem, it's kind of a way to accomplish the true out body experience, because like you said, you purge yourself of the problem, possible solutions, and you start to prioritize and reroute the way to get to the optimal solution that you want.
Right.
I'm a bit different. I do like to, like, I had this thing when I lived with my mom. I used to go in the back of the yard and pace.
Okay.
Right. So, and I love, that's one thing about that particular yard that I liked. I haven't been able to replicate that anywhere that I've lived, but I talk to myself a lot, and I talk to, well, I don't answer myself, so I'm not crazy, but I tend to talk to myself. I think it's
What's
very.
wrong with answering yourself, dog?
Huh?
What's wrong with answering yourself?
That's what they say. People say, "Oh, you can talk to yourself as long as you don't answer yourself," because it's crazy. So that's just one of the stupid things that I picked up, you know.
Yeah.
I have to answer myself if I'm thrashing out an idea, because it's not like, oh, I got it, and then just go off. You want to sound stuff out. You want to hear how they sound. You want to envision how they sound, and kind of play it out in your mind. So I thrash a lot of stuff out of my head, and people think that I'm cold, but at the end of the day, if getting rid of them or their aura for a particular point in time will help me to move forward in what I feel is my overall goal, I'm going to do it. And I think I learned that a long time ago, not to be in love with anybody's personality around me, and to realize that I'm in charge of my own happiness. So that means that certain people would have their collateral damage per se, you know.
And then like thinking about like control, right? Because it's this level of look at Greg, you're back.
Pardon I, but I don't know what's going on just now. This thing freaked right out on me just now.
Well, it's good that you're back.
Yeah, I was trying to get on all the time just now. I still have a little something I have to work out.
You gone again?
Okay, continue, Cyrus.
But that's a sense of it too, in terms of like, especially taking control with me. It's like I feel like it gets one of the things that leads me to think things are out of control is like when I can't finish something. You know what I mean? Like you have these projects that you get close to the end, and then it's like, oh, I just want to close this project out, or I just want to do this thing, or just knock this thing off my list, and you never get to it. And I think a level of perfectionism kind of comes into place. Like you want things to be perfect, and if they don't happen a particular way, or if it doesn't happen a way that you thought it was going to do, like you get mad and frustrated, and then I think that's when it starts to spin out of control, right? So how do you really what is control? How do you define control, or how do you define the level that you need to get to where something's okay when you don't, it doesn't have to be 100% perfect, but at least you could do this thing, and then you could be content and happy with that thing, because just like what you touched on is a level of happiness with yourself, and it's a level of happiness in the quality of work you want to put out. Like and all entrepreneurs, they want to put out the best quality of work they want to do, right? But it's different perspectives for different people. Like something may be really perfect, right? I mean, like let's say a client or a customer or whatever like thinks this is the best thing in the world, but you kind of see the imperfections in it, and you'd be like, okay, like it is what it is, but you're not really happy. I think we do that to ourselves, and I think where that out of controlness comes is that us going like just spinning in your head, Dread, just like feeling like things out of place. But it is real, and you got to take those breaks sometimes to really take a step back and look at that perspective of what you're doing.
Yeah, with stuff like that, with control and making possibly the best product ever, and trying to find that in between of happiness and not defeating yourself by looking for the imperfections because you're a perfectionist. You have to identify the industry standard in two ways. You have to identify the industry standard. How will your product or service shape up against international competition? And then how will it stack up against your peers at home, right? And then you have to have your own standard level and say, okay, well, out of these 10 points, for me to be content, even though I might fudge up on this minor detail, I need it to be 8 or 8.5, right? And you have to be content with the 1.5 that you're off and take the average between the three and walk away. Because for me, control and control with contentment, especially with the work that you produce, has a lot to do with your consistent client base. If you could put out work consistently that is well above average, that stands up against people that have been doing it X amount of years, both locally and internationally, and you continually seeing business, you're doing something right. You can always perfect the product, you can always perfect the process, and that's all a part of the game and evolution as time goes on. But there's a certain level of contentment that you have to have so you don't set yourself crazy and then undermine yourself,
right,
and cause yourself business.
Y'all can see and hear me.
yeah,
I see.
you back.
My goodness. My apologies, folks. Had some technical difficulties just now. I actually had to exit out and join as a guest like y'all. So right now I have no control over the program. So all us on here as guests right now. So I can't put the comments up or none of that good stuff. But I was kind of catching pieces of what you guys were saying. So do forgive me if I didn't get everything. But let me chime in. Thank you guys for holding it down while I was dealing with this situation.
Right.
But what made me want to discuss this, especially, was I was just thinking. I had a conversation with a friend. Was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday, and they said that old adage that a lot of people tend to say, which is oh boy, that easier said than done. And I started to say, that's something I hate to hear, because I think it's an excuse and it's a form of giving up before you even start to do anything. And I think when people say that is only because they're not willing to do what it takes to get it done. So they just say it's easier said than done. It's like an easy cop out. And what that simply is when someone their desire doesn't exceed their doubt. And so they just cast it off as, well, that's easier said than done. Anytime you question them or, why haven't you done this or when are you going to do this? They say, well, that's easier said than done. That's easier said than done. And then today I started to think, like when it comes to income, who controls your income? And I've adopted the mindset. Yeah, and I adopted that mindset a while ago that you are in control of how much you make. And I just started to think, like, I wonder how many people actually think that they are indeed in control of what they make. I know I think that way. I'm sure Jay thinks that way. I'm sure you think that way also, Travis. But how many people actually believe that they are the sole person that's responsible for the amount of income that they generate? Because today was a day I had some stuff that had been done, to the place and some other stuff to be done. So I kind of had to dial back. I actually had to make less money today because I couldn't be running up and down because I had to be in place. And it just had me thinking, like, I really am in control of how much money I make. And I wonder how many other people believe that. How many people do you run into that feel that way? Do you run into a lot of people that feel that they're in control of their income, or is it depending on their job or someone else, how much money they're going to make?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. I mean, because there's different levels within levels of that. Like, people who have like a salary job, but they can control how much they make by getting certifications, or it's different levels. Or some people they know. I think that's the kind of that's the double-edged sword of a salary, is that how much you're making, right?
And you ain't in control of that. You could ask for more.
But you could control. I mean, you could ask for more. You could get a different job. I mean, it's really on the level of how in control you feel that you are in control of that type of thing.
Yeah, there are levels to control.
Yeah, there's levels to control, and that, like, what I was talking about with Jay, just now, is that people, and like even what you said earlier is like, yeah, people might say easier said than done. I am a component of not saying that. But I don't think it's necessarily a cop out from the get go. Like, people just work with the data that they have. It's the same principle of like how people judge you or think that you can't do anything. Is that it isn't necessarily them downing you down in some cases, they're just using their personal experiences to really say that you, like, from what they know, they can't see it being possible. And that happens externally and that happens internally as well. And I was talking to Jay, is that really what it does is that if you feel stuck, at least what works for me is like to do a brain dump of all the steps you need to take on paper, talk to people too. That'll probably open up some steps that you missed, and then ordering it in a particular way so you can take control of it. Oh, Jay.
Oh, so now you have audio issues, Greg.
Can't hear Greg.
No, I can't hear you. I can read your lips pretty well though.
Greg, meme. Like just like do like
just hold up signs.
hold up signs, Greg. Just write and hold up signs.
This is not his day. But yeah. What were we talking about just now?
He was talking about on the salary component, on the money component of taking.
Yeah. For me, it's half and half because I treat my brand two ways. There's the entrepreneurial side, obviously, that's the major component of it. Mm-hmm. And then I contract my brand out. So I'm a part of radio as a radio personality, and I treat that as a contract. So the J. Isaacs brand has a relationship with Hot 91.7, right?
Right.
Whereas they give me a fix for that contract. That contract always has the opportunity to be revalued because of the work that I put in and how I grow my brand. So a lot of people, for me, that are salaried workers, like you said, whether they get certifications or they look at the open job market and they kind of value themselves over time and not wait for their employers to value them, that's the type of control that they have. For my friends that are fully entrepreneurs and have business like Greg, who pretty much is in charge, I look at guys that take water from the river, right? You could go and get buckets and buckets and buckets of water and you control that, or you could dig a stream and funnel the water from the river and divert it to a pool so it makes it easy so you have more resources at any point in time, right? So it is levels to control, and every situation is different, whether you're salaried or you're a career-oriented person working for somebody or you're an entrepreneur. You just have to establish which lane you're in and figure out what is the best vehicle to get you from A to B and then B to C. And always have a plan, a financial plan of what you need to get to where you need to be. To be honest, I'm a proponent now that my 1/3 of my income should always be my current age, especially in an inflated thing. So my whole thing is, if I fell short by a third of what my overall thing is, I don't feel horrible because you know what I mean. So you have to know what it is that you need to keep the lifestyle that you want.
Right. You kind of have your standards, just like what you talked about before, like levels, whatever that may be, financial or even just operational. You have the level of standards, and in touching on that is an interesting thing too. I mean, we didn't really say the word, but like, in order to take control, is like having a level of discipline. You know what I mean? Like you have to have a level of discipline for yourself in terms of routines that you put yourself through or processes that you do. And I think the common misconception people probably might go with them. Greg, you're back.
You can hear me?
I don't see him yet. I know he's tempting. No. It's a blank space. I know my space got a little narrow like I'm in a jail cell.
Hey, what?
Yeah.
Greg, you're back. So, but let me just finish that thought. It's like a level of discipline. And I think a misconception with control is that if you have fully control of your life, that you could do anything you want. Yes, that is true to a particular extent, but you have to have a level of discipline for you to remain consistent and to do particular things that you need to do. Like when it comes to finances, that takes a level of discipline. So you can make sure money's coming in, you're controlling what's coming out. So like you could always maintain a level of control to do certain things, right? Like if you have no money in the bank, that reduces the amount of choices that you can make, essentially. You know what I mean? So it's having a level of responsibility with that. And
I think a level of cunning as well to make hard decisions.
You get it right away.
I didn't get your last
one. Y'all can hear me? Tell me y'all can hear me, please.
Yeah,
I can hear you.
Oh, okay, good. Jeez.
Yeah.
Listen, my goodness. Listen, folks, we're still working out the details of this program, so we're gonna still experience some difficulties from time to time. Unfortunately, that hit us today, but luckily, I have two more than competent individuals that could handle the show, as you can see. Thank you guys for covering.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for covering for me, because boy, like I was getting super frustrated. If it was only me, I would have been super screwed. So I appreciate you guys so much, and you guys were dropping some serious knowledge on the people. I wish I could have contributed more, but we now running close to that time to wrap up.
Yeah.
So any closing thoughts on the topic? If you guys want to leave anybody with some information as to how they could, begin to take that first step into, taking grasp of their life and getting in control from day one, you know what I mean, to make that decision and move forward.
Biggest thing, just put it on paper, but go to Book World, get a ream of 500 sheets of printer paper if you need to. If you want,
it got to be paper, Travis. What about in your phone?
You could do it in your phone. For me, like I say, like it gets to the point where I need to get super visual to see how steps line out. Like if I have cue cards or paper, I would like throw it on the floor and put it in order particular thing. I mean, I don't always do it on paper. I have like software tools for that too. But something of having a tangible piece of paper and like being able to move out of that environment and then connect the dots and put it in a way that you wouldn't necessarily see, that works.
I got you.
I mean, paper, you may not have a computer or you may not have access to anything, but you could get a pretty much get access to paper, hopefully. Or even like invest in like a notebook, like take notes. Even if you just have general thoughts on a particular thing, you might come straight out of the shower and have a thought on something. Write it down, like get in the habit of writing it down. That's the biggest thing for me. And it isn't as easy, it isn't easy right off. You can't just, in certain things, when you feel that flow, you could just hop right up and like do stuff. But sometimes you need to take a step back and look at it in a different perspective. So that's my take on it.
Gotcha. Mr. Isaacs.
Yeah, for me, it is just about taking responsibility. If you want praise when you win, you have to learn how to take the L's. You are totally responsible from start to finish. The sooner that you have that clarity, the better it is going to be for you. You're going to start to make decisions that will benefit you and solely you, and you will stop and start to close out people, how they chime in and giving you sometimes absurd advice or just making noise. You'll start to channel the noise. Being cunning and having a certain level of discipline, Travis pointed out earlier in the show, is very, very important. And the thing about it is, even though we're saying that you need to take responsibility for your life, there's nothing wrong with reaching out to that one person that you kind of look up to, that you want to be like. There's people will be like, oh, stop liking man or whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, like in order for you to get to something, or to somebody, you would have had to see that in somebody else. So find that one person that you could kind of confide in, get advice from, and take on a mentor.
Okay, interesting. My take would be, as I always say, you could die soon, right? All us, one thing we all know is that we could die. We only here for a short period of time. So my advice would be to make the best of your life and take as much control of it as you can, and understand that there's no such thing as a secure job. Contrary to popular belief, a lot of people say they get this safe job or this secure job. There's no such thing. You could be let go at any instant. You are not in control of that situation, and there's nothing wrong with having a job. But if you are somebody that wants to take full control of your life, especially when it comes to your finances and your freedom and your time, you're going to have to start to do things for yourself and generate income for yourself, because a job isn't going to do that for you. And like I said, that's fine for people that, if you want to have a job and you're okay with that, you're okay with, the set pay and the set vacation times and stuff, that's quite fine. Nothing wrong with that. A lot of people, matter of fact, most people are comfortable with that. But we're speaking to the people that, are not comfortable, are sitting there and they know they want more and they want more control. You have to start to take those steps, even if it's doing something on the side while you still have a job, just to get get started and get established to start generating some form of income outside of your regular job, you could start by doing that and then gradually move to doing it, full time. But you have to start one day. And like I said, the greatest motivator for me, at least, is that, buddy, you're gonna die. We only here on borrowed time, and you don't know when that's gonna happen. So there's no time like the present. There's no time like now to start. So just get started and do it, and stop complaining and stop making excuses and all of these, these speed bumps and all these other things. Just stop making the excuses and just get it done. So once again, I want to thank you guys. Thank you for tuning in. For those of you that are watching, for sticking out through our technical issues. I want to thank you, Jay and Travis, for holding it down while I was having my issues over here. I appreciate it greatly. Thank you for all of your great advice every week. And I'm sure the people that watch are grateful for it as well. And we're going to wrap this show up the way we do every show, which is with losers make excuses and winners make adjustments. So stop making those excuses. Get started with making the necessary adjustments that are going to take to improve your life and get your life in your hands, because those are the hands you want it to be in. So once again, thank you so much, folks. Thank you for tuning in. Travis,
Yep.
Jay, appreciate it. Until next time. Peace.